The following program is suitable for general audience of any age. We would like to remind our viewers that the views expressed in this program by our participating guests are solely viewpoints of them who take part and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network.
Good evening and welcome to a brand new episode of Gen XYZ. We are here today to discuss about wildlife and wildlife artistry, something that in Sri Lanka I think it's a very important topic, and we're here with the very famous Mr Gamini Ratnavira. Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this show. I want to get an idea of the background that sort of put you in this field and what prompted you to go down this field of work.
Well, the background is very simple. We are kind of looking at it
Yes.
right now. The tropical environment, and all throughout my studying years, I was at a school that had a very large surrounding. And that is where my love for nature came from. I never thought I'll end up an artist, but it was all about my observations as a 4-year-old running around and looking at trees, plants, insects, birds and things like that, and kept on developing in my head about someday I want to share this with somebody. And so I was starting to sketch these things in my exercise books. It didn't look like anything then, but the important thing is it brought back memories for me. And the struggle of trying to express myself through my artwork began there. And but the important thing is it always brought back memories, so I could live in that moment and then redo and it was that was my first steps in my love for nature that actually developed my love for art. And then once I started seeing results, I thought,
You decided to pursue.
I come from a family of jewelers.
Yes.
And I did some jewelry designing for my father at Sarda Jewelers, and he was very artistic. So there was that
It was passed down to
the
you.
instinct was there.
Yeah.
But he was not sure whether I was going to make it as an artist, as all fathers do.
Yeah.
I mean, we always question our children's careers before they, excel in it. But at the end of the day, he found that I stood on my own feet, and he was excited about it. So.
And growing up, I've read that you had a lot of very unusual pets
Exactly.
at home.
That is the biggest privilege I had. I had one first-hand experience of a very intimate experience with animals.
Yes.
And in those days, there was no restrictions, and animals, when the people found that, my dad and I was very loving towards animals, anything that was hurt was brought to us and bringing to us, and then we are caring for them. I mean, it was a natural development. And I, at a very early stage, decided that I want the best teacher in the world, and I chose nature. And so nature has been my guidance, my teacher, and I still live my life according to what nature tells me to do.
And that's a great way to live your life.
Yeah, because I don't know, I'm not a scholar. I don't have a lot of intelligence when it comes to reading and all that, because we didn't have access to those things. But now I study as much as possible, but my most important studies are done in the field. And that's why I paint them. That's why I sketch them. And now I'm able to relate through my paintings of not only just my feelings, but the feelings of nature itself.
And as a Sri Lankan, we know how important wildlife is to Sri Lanka, right? And I think it's a vital part of our culture as well.
Absolutely.
So what is the importance for those, who are still questioning why we need to go into this sort of field, why it's important to
It's very simple. If we protect our nature, you're protecting ourselves. I mean, it's like you cut down a tree, you lose that much of oxygen that we are not getting.
Exactly.
I mean, it's simple as that. I mean, when you destroy nature, what you're doing is you're destroying yourself. And that cycle of life is absolutely important, especially when we have it here, when we have the lush and extensive nature that is compared for this little island. We are so rich, extremely rich, more rich than most of the vast, important countries. I mean, I travel a lot, painting wildlife from all over the world now that I'm capable of doing it. But I think the essence of the whole thing begins of protecting even a blade of grass, because there's a cycle, everything has a connection. When it comes to the technology, that connection falls off.
Yes.
But if you put it into the right use, we can educate a lot of people through that. And I'm not technological at all, so my technology comes from nature.
Yes.
You know, I study the animals and how they are behaving with their...
And they're still way more advanced than a lot of things that we have.
Absolutely.
Come
You know,
to
when I
learn.
was a little kid, I used to study a little squirrel's nest. And I used to climb the tree and sit with it, and it would come and sometimes just jump over me and go to her nest. And I thought, well, I'm getting very close to them, and I had a connection with these animals. But one of the most important lessons I learned at that time was I couldn't help myself. I was so much in love with these animals. When I heard the babies calling inside the nest,
That's sweet.
I thought, they're close enough to me, I'm sure they'll accept me. And I put my hand in to touch the babies. And I got bitten.
Oh, no.
The mother really did an arm on my finger and ripped it open. And that was a very important lesson that I learned. And today, when I raise my children, that's how protective I am of my children.
Yes.
Because you can love my children, but don't,
mess with them.
Yeah, I had the same situation. And my first lesson in life was, I was like 5 years old then. I was not thinking of children, but it is a thing that I never forgot in my life.
It's a very valuable lesson.
Yeah, and when I look at animals and the way they behave and their interaction with nature, with the fauna and flora, the atmosphere, everything, I see different species come out at different times. That's the atmosphere, different. When it rains, there are certain species that want to come out. There are species that don't want to come out. And soon after the rain, there's a whole... So all those little things was what I studied. And now I'm able to put it into my paintings. So by doing that, I create a window to nature. And that is my form of giving back. And I'm very, very privileged. And every day I learn from watching this, and painting, every day I learn.
Something new,
There's
yes.
nothing. When I put my paintbrush onto my canvas or paper, I learn something about even how to add the colors and things like that. So it's a never-ending lesson that you live in. And when you read something or look at something on the computer or something like that, there is a certain pause. But my life, I'm privileged, there's no pause. And if you do it, you're going to learn. If you don't do it, you're not going to learn. So it's about the animal, it's about the subject, it's about painting.
Now, Mr. Gamini, like I said, Sri Lanka is obviously known for its wildlife, and, places like Yala National Park, Wilpattu, and even just in general, we see, cows walking on the road. But something that I, need to address is, as of recent, there have been a lot of reports of mistreatment of animals, especially, leopards, lions, and especially the endangered species that we actually must be going out of our way to protect. So as the youth, what can we do, and what's your advice to the youth, and how we can fix this issue?
First and foremost, when I teach about painting, I tell them it's the same answer. Is like, first, one of the most important things you do is you learn about say you're painting a ringneck parakeet. What's its behavior? What does it eat? What does it contribute? So the overall picture of the bird, or whatever you work, even if it is a plant, you have to learn about it. And what better to learn about it when we have it here in our hands and in our environment. You have the whole thing in front of you. So you study that. That's the most important thing. And then you start finding things that we never thought, how important this animal or this plant is or this drop of water is. It's as simple as that. So the most important thing is, again, natural one-on-one education with the subject. I think that's the most important thing. When most people who live in the cities, here of course it's different. There's still people in the cities who has a very good environment. And there is the people who can afford to go out and look at things too, which in most of the other parts of the world it's not available. Because like I live in California, and if I want to go to the desert or something, it's a couple of hours drive. And everything is so vast. And unless you go and communicate with the people in those areas, you're not going to learn anything. Here we have the privilege of having it in a doorstep, and there's no encyclopedias better than that.
I mean, yes, you have the world's largest mammal on land, and within just a 1 hour drive, you can see the world's largest mammal.
And the thing is, like the leopards, we have probably the biggest concentration of leopards in the whole world for the size of land. Biggest concentration of blue whales in the world. I mean, there are a lot of things like that. And I fortunately have been fortunate enough to work with the university and the Gaul Wildlife Protection Conservation Society and so on. And
to make change.
Yeah, not only the change, I'm trying to educate them through literature also. So I've done the field guide to the birds of Sri Lanka, done the field guide to the mammals of Sri Lanka. Now I just finished the shorter fish of Sri Lanka. So these little books that I'm doing is available to everybody, and everybody has. Earlier I couldn't get any books. Now that is my way of educating, and I find that painting the animals and showing them in their natural habitat has gained more enthusiasm, and it's easy to identify the species when you're doing a painting than a photograph because of the angle of light and things like that.
And it takes a longer time to finish the painting, so you observe a lot more things than just a snapshot.
Right. When I'm doing a painting, I take a subject and I study it as much as possible in the wild. Then I study everything that is available because I just absorb anything. You ask me somebody's name, I would have forgotten it. But you ask me a name of a bird, I'll remember exactly where I saw it, when I saw it,
what
how
it was
I saw
doing,
it, and the coloration and all that. Like for instance, if you're painting a green bird, there's no green feathers in real life. It's the way the feather is structured. So the light angle is important. The various different shades of greens and blues are not real colors. So it's the way it is structured, whereas the browns, the reds and the yellows are developed by the food that they eat. It's a character. So those are things I had to learn in the field. I didn't have books.
Exactly. So to add on to the what you said on how we need to educate people one-on-one with nature. So for any youth that is interested in pursuing this field, helping the cause, maybe in like the slightest way possible, maybe even getting to wildlife artistry, how do they get into this?
To answer that question, I just did a workshop in Hiare and in Singaraja because we just built a place in Singaraja base, my wife and I, alongside with Madhura De Silva with the Wildlife Conservation Society of Gaul. We built a research station, which is in the middle of the jungle, where anybody who wants to do research can go there and study, and there's beds and they make meals, everything. It's free. So these are the things that we like to do because our daughter, unfortunately we don't have her with us, but in her memory, we built that because she was very, very conservation oriented. That's what she wanted to do. So we are carrying her legacy too. It's called Natalie Ratnavira Research Station, and Madhura was telling me till this year, the beginning of this year, we couldn't come to see it even because of COVID and all that. So we were privileged enough to come and go actually stay there, and it's beautiful. It's just a little piece of paradise, and we are offering that to the young students. Madhura told me that a lot of the university students who couldn't afford to come and stay, they are now doing it. And there's foreign students that are coming. So that's the kind of work I do. And then the workshop I did last Saturday, we had the most enthusiastic, young, honorable kids that came, and every one of them was so polite. Nobody pulled out the phone while I was talking. It's simple as that, and so focused. And they're all young scientists. I mean, most of them were teenagers, and so focused. So that is a huge achievement as far as I'm concerned.
So maybe curiosity and just enthusiasm in general in wanting to do something.
Right, and the thing is, they are following the education that we would have loved to have had. And today in this country, there's so much that's offered to them. Field Ornithology Group is one of the things I got started right with Dr. Koterman. Their group, the Golf Society of Wildlife Society, and there's a whole bunch of them now. I'm going to be doing another book with one of the young scientists who came for my workshop on the freshwater plants of Sri Lanka.
Yes.
So everybody will have this little pamphlet book, whatever you may want to call it, accessible, so that we didn't have that.
Yes, and I want to get more into what you've done as an artist, your achievements, and how you've taken, as a Sri Lankan going into an international arena presenting your art. And I want to dive specifically into your art style and what you prefer in painting. We can showcase some of your art as well. But we have to head into a short commercial break. We'll be right back on Gen XYZ. And welcome back to Gen XYZ. We are joining with Mr. Gamini, and I wanted to, and as you can see, we have all of his, a select few of his artwork available here, and I wanted to dive into what stories, lie behind these paintings and anything significant. And we also have a few of these sketchbooks that you take on when you go on trips and you travel.
Yeah, when I travel, of course, my wife and I do all the traveling together. And when we travel, I do quick sketches in the field. And she also makes notes, and she's a writer. So between the two of us, I have a pretty clear indication of what we have observed.
Right.
And I think it's very important to have that, because in every country we go, I capture a little bit the flora, the fauna, the archaeological, whatever it is that is eventually turns into a painting. Now I have my reference.
Yes.
So, and also it's a kind of a souvenir for us, because it brings back memories, and that is one of the vital parts of being an artist, of trying to explain ourselves through the forms of nature.
And for those of you watching, these are just a few of, historic places in Sri Lanka, and, very, very significant places in Sri Lanka. And the scrapbook you hold is actually of your trip to Peru.
I have done a few trips to Peru, and as a child, I was always very fascinated with the Amazon River and the species found there. And this is, so what I do is I just do a few other, this is a very interesting part for me, because the river dolphins, that was always intriguing. But you can't see them. You can see them coming up and down, but the water is like milk tea,
Yes.
So they move around with echolocation. So
we don't possess that.
No,
so
I took the chance, and I put a mask on and just jumped into the water. And the interesting thing is, the mama brought the baby and came right up to me, because she could see me. And she knew, and I was able to touch it and, interact with the... So those are things that when I do a painting, I put that life into the painting of what my experience was. So that's just one little thing. But all in all, night walking with looking at the species and, things like that are very, very important. So I always suggest, if somebody is painting, start doing in the little sketches so that you can remember them and work around. This, for instance, my little canoe I was in, this fish was bigger than the canoe.
Yes.
It's a freshwater fish. It's the largest freshwater fish in the world. These are piranhas, and there's this big hype about all this Hollywood stuff. I got in the water with them. There was absolutely no aggression, nothing, and they're gorgeous fish. So it's about learning about that, and this is the archaeological sites from there. It's as ancient as almost our countries, as Sri Lanka.
And I want to take a bit of time to talk about this beautiful elephant that you've painted here. And you mentioned that it was actually used as a logo.
Yeah, that particular animal was used for this. So this is actually very similar to what kind of work I do in the field. This elephant was very special to me because it was one of the few tuskers when I was growing up. And the cross tusk was very significant, and whenever I go to Yala, I spend some time with watching it, and I get pretty close to it. But I respect animals
too much.
So, and I never have had any aggression from any species in my life. Fortunate for that, and I'm grateful. And so I was able to go watch him. And when I was asked to do the logo for the Department of Wildlife, I used that elephant for it, and I'm honored by it still being the same logo.
Yes, and any of these paintings here that speak to you, like anything that is very significant that.
Well, anything I paint in nature is very significant to me.
Yes.
And just as an example, like this piece, it's a very common bird here, the kahakurulla, but the depiction of the bird to make it alive and things like that. I do little simple things like I work on the leaves with little bug bites and things like that because I want it to be as natural as possible. Then to get the bird out of the painting and out of that branch, I put a little shadow on the back of the bird. And things like that are very significant when it comes to do natural wildlife painting. And there's painting of an owl, but he's hidden. That's why you see it. I want to put them in their natural environment. And
diving into, because you mentioned that these sketches happen sort of just spontaneously, and it's sort of like a memory, like how we would normally take a picture of it. This is your version of it.
Well, I do take pictures, but I'm more patient with the paintbrush than the camera.
With the camera.
Because I take a lot of time studying them too while I'm doing that. Yeah.
And I wanted to get into your process of when you want to start a painting. Or, are you someone that likes to take your time? Do you like to sit out with them? Or do you normally, like, for example, sketch something and then come home and then paint?
Most of the time I use the sketches. Sometimes I use the photographs I've taken. Sometimes I use the notes that my wife and I do both collaborate and make notes of. And we discuss things and we bring back memories, and that inspires me to do a painting on that particular subject. And
I read somewhere that you are a bit of an impatient person when it comes to using oil, because waiting for it to dry out.
Well, these are all oils actually. So when I had to do oils, I like to do oils for here because of the humidity of the watercolors and things like that. But what I do is, I'm impatient because I get up at 4 in the morning and get to my easel. And I process my whole lifestyle through my paintings. My worries, my happiness, everything is processed through while I'm painting. Because I transform myself to these places and live in that environment. So when I'm doing oils, I start on about 10 pieces at the same time, go from one to another. And by the time I get to the end, I'm tired. So the next day I have 10 more pieces, the same 10 pieces, I can go and do the next stage. Because oils you have to do it in stages.
Yes.
When I'm doing acrylics or watercolors, I can keep on working till I'm tired. So I do 1 or 2 maybe at the same time. But, I create a lot of work. I paint almost every day when I'm at home. Because unless I'm traveling or doing this, I'm always painting. And when I'm tired painting, I go in my backyard. I have sort of a Japanese garden I have built because I do bonsais and we have a koi pond. I go and work with my plants a little, get some, what do you call,
inspiration.
tree bathing they call it.
Oh, okay.
And relax, and then my eyes get back to my place, so I come back and start painting.
And that's honestly, I think, I think putting all that worry, like you said,
Right.
all the worries into your painting, that really shows the amount of effort and dedication you've put into this work. And what are the greatest, I mean, you've had a lot of experience, you've traveled to 50 odd countries, you've, and you said you love traveling with your wife as well.
we our companionship, we both have the same love for nature.
Yes.
And it works very well because we are very compatible.
And I want to know what is something that what do you consider the greatest achievement you've achieved, and anything that when you took this art to the international arena, what did it look like?
Well, when I moved to the States in 1986, and there was a big challenge for me because there was about 15 million artists making a living there, and I was one of them. But here I started wildlife art, so I kind of had a monopoly at that time. But the whole idea of starting is to encourage other younger generations to start working, and which I'm seeing today, and it's a huge, huge satisfaction for me. And when I went there, I had to figure out certain ways of competing with this, because if I wanted to make a living as an artist, and mind you, that's all I did ever since I left here. And so in order to do that, I had to learn certain techniques. I'm self-taught right from the beginning, so I didn't have any rules. So when I want to create something of a powerful color or anything like that, I started working a new technique. Not a new technique for, I guess some other people use it. Most artists work from light to dark. I work the opposite way. I work from dark to light. So I really basically, like doing a sculpture, I built the bird up instead of leaving the whites out. And so that, I also found doing that, I was able to correct the mistakes I'm making.
Right.
That takes me to the next step where, I'm not frustrated because now I have made a mess of this painting. I can keep on painting. And that, in the years, I corrected it as I'm going on. And another thing I learned was how to overall get one light into the painting by doing washes. Because earlier I would do the bird and then, or do the background and then do the bird or whatever it is. Now after I do it together, the background, and then I wash it with certain colors because there's only one light. So I uniform the whole painting and then I do the detail on it.
And I want to know, so since you've been a part of the Pacific Rim Art Expo, you've presented your paintings there as well, and Sierra, as you mentioned, that was the first thing you did when you moved to the States. What was the response like?
Well, the response was great because I did what I knew, the subject material, so which is tropical. So,
and if there's anyone in this country, like the youth, who want to maybe take their talent, which is wildlife artistry, to the international arena, how can they do it?
Oh, I have only one advice for that.
Keep painting.
Work every day. Work every day, study the subjects. Those two have to go hand in hand. And just don't paint because you want to sell it. Just paint because you know it and what you're trying to teach with that. And I think that's one of the most important things in wildlife art. Wildlife art is not something just to hang on the wall. Wildlife art is to take you into that environment. If you go into that environment, you're going to enjoy it. And in order to do that, you have to really start understanding what you're painting. So those two things have to go hand in hand. And I think there's so much of talent here. And I think the important thing is they got to keep on painting, but you have to paint every day at least.
And what are some challenges you think you faced when maybe starting up here and taking it to another country? What are the challenges?
Well, the challenges are the competition, of course. But what I did was I took those challenges and I learned from it. So one of the things I do is this. Most of the artists do about, even the most professional artists, with the exception, of course, they do about 20 paintings a year. Minimum, I would do 100 paintings a year. So I get to more places. And like so instance, you say I have 10 paintings in 10 different houses, and each of those houses, there's 10 people visit in them. Then I'm exposed to
a lot more people.
Yeah. So it develops like that. Now the area we live in, almost all the houses have a painting of mine. We live in a rural area, and they accepted me, and I started a show there called Reflections on Nature, and it went to high places. Now I'm kind of retired from that, but we had the base, the foundation. Because when we started that, my wife, she's a teacher, so she and I started a program alongside with it for the children. Because we wanted the children to understand what wildlife art is. So we chose a subject every year. We chose something like the rainforest. And we went to the schools and explained to the teachers and the children, this is not for the teachers to teach the children, but this is the children to teach the teachers. You have to depict a painting. So you can teach them about the rainforest, and they have to start developing their own ideas. And we had such a success with this young artists from all. Only time we didn't have a success with that is when the teachers interfered, and like we had a show one year. It was Africa, and we had a beautiful painting submitted, but it was a tiger. And I rejected the painting. And then the teacher went up in arms and said, he's the best artist. I said, yeah, but he didn't do his studies. There's no tigers in Africa. So I'm sorry. He didn't answer to the call of nature. So but things turned, and it worked very well. And there was, I still have, now of course these kids are grown up and having children. They come and I took your class. But it was rewarding. It's very, very rewarding. So that's one of the ways we broke into the market, and also achieved a lot of goals. And we did shows throughout the country. Pacific Rim, the Wildlife Expo in Florida, a show in Seattle. Was in Seattle, the Pacific Rim. Then we did Charleston, Carolina, a very high and prestigious show. And we are exposed to this high-end buyers as well as the enthusiasts. It's like a black tie event, it's very, very prestigious to even get into the shows, and you're also among the best of the best in the world. People come all in. So being in those environments, Birds in Art was one of the programs. I paint birds mostly, but it took me 10 years to get into it. And that show chooses 100 artists from the world. That's the top 100 artists. And with my tropical work is when I got into it. When I went in, the artists were like, they knew that that's my place. And they said, why weren't you in here for the longest time? But, I had to pay my dues. I got there. And also being exposed to those excellent high-end artists. They sell paintings for $100,000 a piece. You can't even buy it unless you get into a lotto to get it. And being able to associate with these people, and they're all
so you learn from everybody.
Not only learn, association with them and their inspiration, all those things help. That's big. And like what I say, every day I learn. Every day I learn.
Yes.
And that's one of the most important.
And that's something that even I think the youth, as the youth, we have to, take advice from and learn every day. And I want to dive a bit into, how, if art has really lost its place right now in the world because of maybe technology and things like that. I want to dive into it right after this short commercial break. You're watching Gen XYZ. Welcome back to Gen XYZ. Now, I'm with Mr. Gamini, a very popular wildlife artist, and I want to, since we're in, outdoors in the open, I want to know how maybe the lighting works, how you would take inspiration from this background.
Oh, it's very simple. I think if you're doing a wildlife painting, well, it's nature painting, not just wildlife,
Yeah.
but sometimes it can be in your backyard and bring in the subjects into to the limelight. There's a butterfly flying in front of us. You use that kind of stuff. But the most important thing in doing a painting of any sort is the light. And to find the light, that's why I start from dark to light. And like looking at these leaves, now I look at that leaf and I know exactly, now I have got the picture in my head where how the light hits the flowers and the leaves and which angle it is coming. So that's a very, very important factor. So then when you're putting the subject in it, you have to remember the same direction of light. So if there's no light, there's nothing happening. So that's important. Light is one of the most important things in painting nature. And then the other thing is to get into the nature to make it natural as possible. And if you're doing a painting of a subject that's in the rainforest, this is a classic example. Classic example of how the multiple plant life grows on trees. And also, like
The
dry leaf, the bug-eaten parts of it, and how you just don't make a hole, but also understand there's the decaying of the leaf around it, and that's why they get attracted to. Because there's always a reason for everything. And in the rainforest, there are certain plants that the top leaves get eaten by bugs. That's a way of making the light go through the lower leaves and enhance the growth of it. So those are things I like to explain, and those are things I want the young generation to look at. And not just do a painting. Do it with the conscience of you're returning something of nature to the public. And,
you're showcasing the true essence and the glory of
reality
nature,
of life. And if you're painting reality, you have to be real about it. But go out there and study.
And my next question then comes, from, there's a bit of a, question about if real art is dying right now. And because with the, invention of technology, a lot of the youth have less time to appreciate nature. They're so engrossed in, their own worlds. And sometimes, like you said, this was your TV back in the day.
This was my TV and this was my world. And I can spend 6 hours here and find 100 things that I would appreciate and enjoy and learn from it. And today, unfortunately, with the technology, we can find quite a lot of it. I'm not saying technology is bad. It really builds in a lot of the stuff that we, in our younger days, couldn't afford and to see. It's exposed now by fantastic photographers and scientists. And that's really a fascinating thing. But what I'm trying to explain is when I I look at Wikipedia sometimes to get some ideas of light and things like that. And I was looking at the blue magpies. There's fantastic photography. I am not saying there isn't. We have a lot of very, very good photographers in this world right now, especially in Sri Lanka. And then suddenly I look, in between all those things, I have an AI generated picture, which is, it's got all the different colors of the rainbow. And so if you don't study the subject, you're going to be totally confused. It's just the same way if you're using photography. If you don't study the subject, your light angles can be totally messed up.
And do you think that maybe at some point, because of how the youth has been, taking care of nature and whatnot, and taking the time to appreciate it, like I said, do you think that maybe sometime in the future, real art could die off?
I don't think so. I don't think so. When we are looking at a book of, for instance, a field guide, the depiction of the species by the painting or the depiction of a species with the photographs are very different. The reason being, with the paintbrush and the observation with the paint, being an illustrator, you can you can, take artistic license and actually recreate the subject to what it looks like in nature. But in photography, unless you sort of manipulate it with, I'm not a technician, so unless you manipulate it, I don't know to what extent we can do that. But I think the exposure for painting wildlife as a piece of art, I think you can take them into the environment a lot further than you're looking at a photograph. And photographs are very important. And I think using all that technology and all that talent you have, I think it's a combination. The real art lovers will only buy art.
Yes.
So there's still that, I don't know, it's a conservative type of approach towards any image. And I personally would like a piece of art than a photograph, but I appreciate the photographs. And because there are places, things that we can't capture with the paintbrush.
Yes.
And also we shouldn't.
So you need to incorporate the modern technology and...
Yeah,
yes.
I think we are in a privileged part of the time of the world, if I may say. It can be constructive, it can be destructive. It's all the way, it all depends on how you use it. And, you can take it and make the best out of it, or you can just take it and be that, and you are not going to make any progress. So the beauty of it is when you take all that technology and the photography and everything, if you progress from that, you're making strides. And also, when you're doing that, you're also learning something. You're not just copying something. So I think it's important to do physical observation as well as everything that's available.
And for the youth watching this, Mr. Gamini, anything you want them to know about, what's important, like how to get into this field, how to, really go far in this field?
It's very simple. Get into the field is you want to have an interest.
Yes.
And have an interest will take you to the next step. And the next step is not just art, what are you going to give back with the art? I mean, there's a lot of people who do art, but nature lovers, nature art has to be not just rewarding, has to be an educational thing. That's what I feel. And since I have not been a scholar of any sort in any of these subjects, I think I feel really privileged. And today I'm making a living out of it, but I'm also giving a lot back to nature. I think that's one of the most important things. If you're going to create anything, that's what you should do. And my advice to anybody who wants to paint nature, point one, study it. Not just in school, study it in the field. Study what you're doing and then let the interest grow with it.
And anything else, like, because you've had a lot of experience, not only in this field, just in life in general as well. Anything you want the youth to take away from what you've done with your life? Anything that they should know?
Learn from life. Learn from it and give it back.
Mm.
That's the most important. In order to give back, you have to be accurate in what you're doing. So in a bit, to be accurate in what you're doing, you just got to go.
Know it fully.
You got to go and spend some time, feel it, touch it, smell it, and love it. That's.
And I want to, sort of, anything else, I mean, this art that you've created, Mr. Gamini, is honestly, I think, something that we should treasure as the youth, because it's not all the time that we get to, see this sort of thing being put out, especially in Sri Lanka, because it's a bit of a niche market here. I mean, there are a lot of painters and there are a lot of wildlife, enthusiasts.
But now I see a lot more than when I started. I was the only one who was doing it, and I think a lot of people were scared of the same questions you asked me, whether am I going to go far with it or am I not?
How can you earn with this?
But you have to forget about that. You have to forget about it. If you do anything right, no matter what subject it is, you're going to go places. And in order to go places, you got to keep on working at it. And you're going to learn about it. So working and learning about it is extremely important, so that you can depict what you have learned, not just somebody saying this or something. Listen to everybody and then find out why he or she said that. And so that's one of the things. Most important thing is learn about it. Next important thing is do it all the time. Practice.
And practice makes
and enjoy it. most importantly, I would say the first thing is you have to enjoy what you're doing. Learn from it. I live my life according to what I learn from nature every day. When I'm in a bind, I think, what would my dog do? It's as simple as that.
Yes.
So,
Go play in the field.
Yeah, and just like, don't worry about the rest of the world. Don't worry about paying taxes. Yeah, it is a problem. But the bottom line is relax. And I relax when I'm painting. I'm always very relaxed when I'm painting. If you check my blood pressure, it's probably lower than what it's necessary to be.
Yes.
So that's what it is.
And that's, I think, the gift that nature has for us. When we enjoy it more, we enjoy ourselves.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
We
We have a gift, especially in parts like Sri Lanka. I mean, this is a paradise for any nature lover. Or in general, it's a beautiful part of the world, and we are so privileged. Why not? Why not take it and enhance it instead of chopping the trees down and doing all that crazy stuff?
Yes.
I don't get into that kind of politics because I can't do it. I can't do anything about it, but I can also create a beautiful tree and don't cut that tree.
Yes. No, but the youth watching this will certainly take inspiration from what you said. And, maybe they can't also make legislative change, but as an individual, they can, get into places, and maybe they can start initiatives that profit nature and, in total just take care of what we've been doing.
Yeah, if you love what you're doing and love what you enjoy, then of course scientifically everything falls into the place. So if you can do that, you have returned a lot of what nature needs. Yeah.
And thank you so much, Mr.
You're welcome.
Gamini,
Thank
for being part of this. And it's really, honestly, being a very, it's been an eye-opener, because a lot of things that I feel like as a part of the youth, I also do, sort of lack the time to, spend time.
What my last words I would say is, don't get angry with the situation. Be happy with it and enhance it.
Yes.
Because being angry is not going to take you anywhere. Being happy and enhancing the thing is going to not only you or yourself, you're going to have a following, and you're going to give the younger generation, especially the younger generation, something to look forward to. And if you start enjoying nature, you're going to see. It's never going to stop.
And thank you so much, Mr. Gamini. And this is Mr. Gamini Ratnavira, who is a renowned world wildlife artist and someone that has had many years of experience. Thank you so much. And we obviously value your feedback. So you can send in your feedback at feedback.adncenglish@derana.lk or via WhatsApp on 076-805-7933. We'll be back with another episode of Gen XYZ next week, same time, same place.
Tree we stay, watch as the night turns into day. We let the fire be the